Are people cheating with Laundries at your locals? Find out in this video! Hey guys, this is Tom Box, and this ruling segment is going to be all about Floowandereeze and some of the more common plays, uncommon plays, and even some blasts from the past that we're going to have to talk about, especially looking at you, imperm / Book of Moon. It seems like some people just don't know how you work, and we're going to clarify all of this. Now, a lot of the cards are going to be involving Floowandereeze and the unexplored winds, but we're going to cover most scenarios that you're going to face with this deck. And if you guys want to see more archetypes being covered in terms of rulings and scenarios that you're going to see in real life, well, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell so you stay notified. We have Ultimate Counter Guide coming up very soon. We are working on that, as you guys are watching this video, so stay tuned for that. But you know what? Let's start off by jumping into Floowandereeze. Ruling number 1 is a PSA reminder to all of you guys. Remember that Floowandereeze monsters, if you want to use any of their summon triggers or their effects to add cards back to their hand, well, you cannot special summon during any point of the turn. It states on the card itself. For the level 1s, you can only use each of the following effects of Floowandereeze X monster once per turn, and you cannot special summon during the turn you activate either effect. That's a very strong limitation. I've seen some people going to Xyz monsters because like, oh, I didn't search, I only added the card back because they wanted to go into a Zeus and swing. I'm like, you know that this deck is strictly for people that don't want to special summon, and if you want to get access to the extra package in your extra deck, this is probably not the deck for you. So don't get screwed over by that, because people just forget it's either effect, the add back and the summon trigger that prevents you from doing it. So people that are trying to go into Lyra-less Assemble Nightingale and going for the direct attack in Zeus, that is a completely illegal play. Ruling number 2, we're going to look into the interactions of Floowandereeze and the unexplored winds. We're going to read the card text and we're going to compare it with the interactions of Zombie World and the interaction of Mask of Restrict, and how the outcomes are different and why they're different. I want to explain it to you guys because this is the one card that has the most amount of arguments. So you can conduct tribute summons that require 2 tributes by sending 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls to the graveyard instead of tributing. See, note the word here, instead of tributing. It is still treated as a tribute summon. In that case, the action considered is considered as a tribute summon, but done without tributing. Now, during your main phase, you can reveal up to 2 Winged Beast monsters from your hand and place them to the bottom of your deck in any order, then draw cards equals the number of cards you've placed. You can only use this effect of Floowandereeze unexplored winds once per turn. Okay, there's lots to break down here. So the first effect of this card that allows you to tribute summon using one of your own monster and 1 card that your opponent controls and send them to the graveyard. The key thing to note here is that you are applying a spell card effect onto those cards. So if those cards were immune to spell effects, you cannot send those cards. And there's not exactly a lot of cards, but if you Forbidden Lance a card, then yeah, that card, you can't apply this particular card effect onto those cards. So those would be cards that you technically can't send away. Now, on that note, say you have a level 1 Floowandereeze monster. That card or that monster would technically get banished if it left the field. But can you actually use it for the tribute summoning using this method? And the answer is yes, because you're applying a spell effect, so it doesn't really care if it does actually end up in the graveyard or not, as long as you have attempted the action of sending it to the graveyard. And if it gets banished, or if it's like a token, it will get removed from the field, you'll still be able to conduct that quote-unquote tribute summon. And since this card counts as a card effect, if you send a Shadow monster or anything that has a send to the graveyard as a card effect, trigger-based effect, those cards will activate. And the additional tribute summoning method is also not once per turn. It doesn't activate, it's not once per turn. The only part that's actually once per turn is the drawing effect, and that only applies to that particular part. So for Mask of Restrict versus Floowandereeze and the Unexplored Winds, how do they interact with each other, and does Mask of Restrict even work? It's sad to say, Mask of Restrict doesn't really work at all against this card because Mask of Restrict prevents you from tributing cards, and the action of tributing cards is not equal to the ability to conduct a tribute summon. They're not exactly completely related. Typically, when you want to tribute summon, you would have to tribute a monster to perform the tribute summon. However, Floowandereeze and the Unexplored Winds kind of gives you a little bit of a bypass because you get to send 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls to the graveyard instead of tributing. So clearly we are not tributing cards during this interaction. So in fact, we could even send away that Mask of Restrict and 1 of our own monsters to perform that tribute summon. It's like a tribute summon without attributing monsters. Sounds kind of weird? Well, then consider instant fusion. It is a fusion summon without an actual fusion material. Or say Crystal Hulky Fibrax's synchro summon without the actual synchroing of multiple monsters. It's kind of the same deal. How does it work? It's because the card text says so. So how does that differ from Zombie World? Well, Zombie World prevents you from conducting tribute summons, and last I read, Floowandereeze and the Unexplored Winds are considered as tribute summons, and it is still treated as a tribute summon. You will not be able to actually even use this card effect to perform anything unless you have a zombie monster that can be conducted as a tribute summon. So that's like the big limitation here. That's the key difference why Zombie World is such a big kryptonite, and not only that, Zombie World, if it's active, all your monsters, when you summon them out, they're considered as zombies. So you technically did not summon out a winged beast monster. So the ones that are banished, they will not trigger, and therefore they won't get added back to your hand. So it stops multiple effects. You can't tribute anymore, so you're stuck with weenies that are completely under 1000 attack, and you can't even add back the ones that are basically killed by your opponent. So it is a very, very big problem, and it's a card that you're gonna have to find other means to out, and you cannot use your all-purpose, jack of all trades, Unexplored Winds to take care of Zombie World. And this is a quick tip for you guys. If you guys activate Crossout Designator, banish a Floowandereeze level 1 monster, and you have not activated that monster, and then you perform a normal summon of a winged beast monster, say Robina. Robina can be Chainlink 1, and then Chainlink 2 can be the one that you have just banished with Crossout Designator. Sure, the effect of that monster will be negated, but it doesn't prevent it from activating, so you can still perform a Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, saving your Robina from getting hit by an Ash Blossom Joyous Spring. So yeah, that's still available. And the scenario where that would come up is that, say you activate a Crossout Designator, then you choose to activate Nadir's Servant, send the Shurig. Shurig's effect adds the Robina, and now you have one thing that's banished. So when you normal summon the Robina, it's a little bit safer. You still get that card that you'll be able to add, unless of course you get hit by a Veiler. Then, well, you got hit by a Veiler. And then speaking of Veiler, let's talk about Veiler versus Imperm versus Book of Moon. So Book of Moon is seeing a lot more play due to the rampant fact that there's a lot of effect Veilers and a lot of infinite impermanence, but there seems to be a little bit of confusion when it comes to Imperm versus Book of Moon. Like back in 2018 when people played Candina and Lycoris, and they're like, oh, the whole, oh my god, I don't want to say this, but people said the whole follow to the grave thing. That thing doesn't exist. Let's get that out of our vocabulary here. There's no such thing as follow to the grave or follow to the hand. That's just someone trying to cheat you. Really, that's all it is. If someone says that anymore, they're just straight up trying to cheat you now. So Effect Veiler says that during your opponent's main phase, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate the effects of that face-up monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. Okay, so that monster needs to remain face-up for Effect Veiler's effect to apply. Okay, that sounds fine. So if I Book of Moon it, chain Book of Moon to your Effect Veiler, my monster's now face down, so I don't get negated. But that's partially why, but there's probably more to talk about that, and that kind of steps into Infinite Impermanence's wording, because Infinite Impermanence's wording states that target one face-up monster your opponent controls. It almost sounds like you can target anything, but you can't really target vanilla monsters, because if you did, it would do nothing, because you can't activate a card effect that doesn't do anything, right? That's like kind of basic Yu-Gi-Oh here. So you're targeting an effect monster at the very least. Negate its effect. It negates its effect. So people are trying to argue that the its effect part is the thing that really matters here. But remember, Imperm and Veiler both targeted a card and needs to apply its effect onto a target. And since that target is, well, if you flip it face down, you can't guarantee, basically it's no longer, public knowledge of what type of monster it is. You can't really apply its effect onto a monster that's not face up. And that's kind of the limitation where Infinite Impermanence kind of kicks in. It's very similar to Veiler, where if the monster is not face up or monster is removed from the field, you can't apply its effect onto something that it can't really look at, because there is no card text on a face down monster for Infinite Imperm to negate. Did that make sense to you guys? Hopefully it kind of clarified that matter so that we're not gonna go back into the old 2018, follow to the hand thing. Oh my god, I don't even want to say that. Just get that out of your system because it doesn't work like that. Just remember, when your card targets a card, it needs to apply its effect onto the card, and to, well, apply an effect-based negation, well, it needs to be able to see its card text at the very least, right? All right, and if there's anything to kind of add on to or correct, leave it down in the comment section. I would appreciate you guys for doing so. If you guys have any other kind of ruling question, leave it down in the comment section below. Any other ruling segment you want to see, any particular archetype, also leave it there. I'd love to read your comments and things that you want to get a little bit of clarity on. Hopefully the comment section will help you answer as well. That's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up button. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, I'm gonna try to go into some live duels, get some commentary going, get some test out my dueling setup. Well, if you guys want to see that, well, make sure you guys subscribe to MST.TV and ding that notification bell. Check out MSTmerch.com. We've got a line of new merch coming very, very soon. I'm very excited about that. And for you Patreons out there, Brave Token stuff is already available. But if you guys want additional things, well, I am accepting proxy requests on Patreon right now. And that's all I got for now. I'll see you guys in the next one.